of prayer. One thing I want to pray for is for Lado's family, the Chavez family. We trust in the chesed, the mercy of the Almighty. He knows the beginning and the end of all. And up front, I want to dedicate this Torah portion to Lado's mom. And a term that is used, that has been used for thousands of years, is refuah shlema, which means a complete healing. And I believe that we all will receive a full healing when these bodies return to where they came from, or they are transformed.
Hallelujah.
So we want to dedicate Wayikra of all Torah portions, and He called. So when He calls us, sometimes it's not as we seem. We don't comprehend everything, but we thank Him for, we thank Yahuwah for being the one who is on the throne and in control of all things. So Abba, we thank you for this Shabbat, for everyone that is here, for the entire Chavez family, that you would engulf them and blanket them with complete shalom. Everyone, whether they are those that know you, those that might not know you, that this will be a time of ministering, that you would be able to bring ends together that have been distant, and bring a unity so that your voice can be heard in a powerful way. And I know that you're going to use Lado to impact his entire family. He's the mouthpiece, and he is grandfathering in things for his entire family. So we thank you that he has been called to this, and along with his lovely wife Tamar and their precious little princess, daughter of the kingdom, Hazel. And we just bless and honor you. And I thank you for the Waiqrah tribe for opening up their home, not to me, but to your ruach, to your presence, because we want to be close to your presence, Abba. We want to be as close to you as possible each and every day of our life. So we thank you, Abba, for the Waiqrah tribe and all the other tribe houses that are here right now, and even you that will be watching or are watching at this very moment. May you have a brachot, a bracha, a blessing right where you're at from Abba himself. So Father, we just thank you for your Torah portion, and may your spirit, your ruach, fill us afresh this day. Fill us up. May our hearts be rejuvenated. May our minds be restored. And may our entire tabernacle that we dwell in right now be completely whole. Father, I want to pray for even Mark Terrazone and his family. I pray for healing upon his physical body even now. That you would comfort our brother and comfort his family in the name of Yahushua Mashiach. We just thank you, Abba, for this day. And we rejoice because the joy of Yahuwah, of Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, is our strength, and we pull upon that type of power. And we just thank you, and we dedicate this day, this moment to you. Visit us, Abba, even if it's just a drop of your presence. Give us something, not because we deserve it, but because you love us, and you love Israel. So we just praise you and exalt you, and we are ready to enter into a time of praise and worship, and we just praise you. Amen and amen. Feel free to sing unto him. We want to play a few songs, not to motivate you, but to help come in agreement with where you are already. So we just praise you and thank you, Abba. Don't be afraid to lift your hands. Don't be afraid to sing unto him. Don't be afraid to dance unto him if that's what it is. We just thank you, Abba. Remember, heavy arms are burdened people. Arms that are raised up are people who have been freed up from the burdens of God. Give them everything. Give them all. Hallelujah.
You provide the spirit.
us up, overflowing, Father. Abba, your Ruach. Fill us up.
Torah
so much, Abba. We give thanks to you. We praise you. We give thanks to you. We thank you, Father, because your kindness and your goodness endures forever.
Amen.
Your kindness and your goodness endures forever. Hodu le Yahweh ki tov ki leolam chazdo. We praise you, we exalt you, and thank you for this shalom that you have covered us. Your shalom that destroys all chaos that tries to rise up. Praise you and exalt you. Thank you for this moment in time right now. Right now. Thank you, Lord. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Thank you, Yahushua Mashiach, for overcoming the grave, for rising from the dead, for not coming off of that tree, for covering us and giving your back to the penalty that we all deserve. For ascending up on high, far above all the heavens, all the Shamayim, and sprinkling your blood upon the altar and that supernal temple above that we can't even comprehend. And still returning back and spending time with your people and ascending up the promise of returning again the same way you ascended up. And right now you're seated at the right hand of power as our Kohen Hagadol, as our Melech Tzaddik, as our King of righteousness, the one who has overcome death, hell, and the grave, the one who has overcome all sicknesses and disease and has taken upon himself the leprous condition of this world, of this earth, of the people of Israel. We praise and exalt you. We thank you. King of Israel, Sar Shalom, the Prince of Peace of Shalom.
Hallelujah.
We praise you. Give your neighbor a big Shabbat Shalom hug.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Hallelujah.
Is that home of grandma or grandpa? I'm not going to stone you guys.
What an anointing.
Alright, let's stay standing. Come on, let's stay standing. We're going to declare something to the sound of shofar.
Yeah.
Man, what an awesome. I felt like time ceased to exist for me. I don't know about you guys. I cannot wait to be in that full Shekhinah, that full kavod presence forever. Imagine that, forever. I can't wait. I can't wait. But until that time, may we constantly have trickles of that while we're here on the earth.
Yeah.
Until the appointed time of the coming of our Mashiach.
Hallelujah.
Where he comes with his kingdom and with his temple, with his people, with the presence, and with that crown on his head, because he is king.
That's
I
right.
cannot wait. So we're going to open up with the sound of the shofar. Are you guys excited?
Yeah!
So let's declare this together. Hopefully you guys can do that. Blurry?
No.
That's good?
No, that's good.
That's just me, yeah. That's just me now. Come back up. Okay. So let's make this declaration. Bernie, can you lead us in the declaration, please?
Hallelujah.
Baruch atah Yahuwah, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו לשמוע קול שופר. Blessed are you, Yahuwah, our Elohim, King of the world, who has commanded us to hear the voice of his shofar.
We're still not done, so hold on. Let's stay
That's
excited.
right.
You guys are like, I cannot wait to sit down. I'm so excited. Let's declare the Shema together. Ready?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Shema Israel, Yahuwah Eloheinu, Yahuwah Echad.
Hear, O Israel,
Yahuwah Elohim, Yahuwah Echad. Baruch Shem Kavod, Malchut Le'olam Va'ed. Praise be the name and his esteem authority forever and ever. Ve'achata et Yahuwah Elohecha b'kol lebecha u'b'kol nafshecha u'b'kol wildecha. And loving Yahuwah, you shall continue to love him with all your heart, with all your soul, and all your increase of strength. And these words which I command you this day shall be upon your heart, and you shall continue to teach them thoroughly to your sons and daughters. And you shall speak of them when you settle in your house, when you walk throughout the roads of this life, and when you rise up. You shall bind them for a sign upon your hands, and they shall be hovering before your eyes. And you shall engrave them on the doorposts of your house and on your gateways.
Amen.
Amen.
All right, you may be seated
Thank you.
in the Shamayim.
Hallelujah!
Or it would probably be like this. Atol Yashev Shamayim Makom.
All
You
right.
may be seated in heavenly realms.
Yeah.
And some might say, wow, how's that? We're down here on the earth. I don't know how that works. I just believe it.
That's
because
right.
the scripture says we're seated in heavenly places with the Mashiach. So we're seated with him, then that must mean a whole lot and have a lot of revelation to it.
That's
So
right.
let's get right into this. This week's Torah portion is Wayikra. We're not on the Ashkenazi cycle, as you guys know. When we had our Pesach, we said, hey, since this is the beginning of the year for us in Mashiach, let's just start from the beginning of the Torah portion. So that's what we have done. I've had a couple emails with questions why we did that again. So this is why we did that, and all comfort and response to that. So is that really clear?
Yeah.
Just try something. Let's see. It might just be me, guys. As long as you guys are good.
No, that's perfect.
It's the same,
Oh,
right?
my.
I did that for nothing.
Is that HD?
Wow, we went from HD to what is that, 4K now? So let's think about this. I want you guys, the Father has so much in this Torah portion. This is such a powerful book, you guys. This book cannot be removed and should not be removed and not even be talked about being removed from the Torah. The book of Wayikra, yes, is giving us the details of things, sacrifices that have transpired historically in the nation of Israel because of some things that had transpired at the foot of Mount Sinai with the golden calf. But this book is also very telling of us, and it teaches us as individuals and as an entire nation of people how to approach the presence now so that we don't go and start creating golden calf systems in our own life. Right. So we need these guidelines. Imagine being out in the desert, someone spins you around with a blindfold like they do the piñatas, right? Or pin the tail on the donkey, all that other weird stuff, right? But imagine being out in a desert and someone spins you around. There's no mountains around. It's just all flat land with a blindfold. Spin you around. They take that off and they tell you, okay, go ahead and head back home. How the heck are you going to find your way back home unless you have some kind of road signs pointing you saying this is the way to go, this is the way to go? Well, we see this throughout the historical accounts of the patriarchs, matriarchs, and Israel in the desert, and especially the sacrificial system that teaches us two things. One, we don't need to present animal sacrifices to the Father anymore. The Mashiach in his power and authority, the sacrificial system that was presented for Yom Kippur and for specific things in the temple have been brought to the rest inside El Shaddai, and so did the sons of Aaron and all the Levites at that time. Right. So let's look at this. Romans 12:1. And I want to encourage you guys, you got any questions, write all your questions down so we can flow right through this. And I know the Ruach has wants to minister to all of us here through this study today. But let's look at this, and I want you guys to drink the word that comes forth. I want you to eat the word that comes forth. I want your spirit, your mind, your heart to be completely echad, unified with his word. Not with me, with his word. Romans 12:1. Therefore, brethren, I call on you through the compassions. What is he talking about? Paul, Shaul, is pointing back to Exodus 34, where the attributes of compassion of the Almighty are there. He's saying, I'm calling on you. Call, Wayikra, Kara. I'm calling on you. How? Through the attributes of the Almighty that he showed us, our ancestors. In Exodus 34, he says, I'm calling upon you through the compassion. So it's compassion with a voice reaching out to you. Of Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, to present your bodies a living sacrifice. So he's saying, I'm calling to each and every one of you in here and watching. I'm calling upon you through the compassions of the Almighty. Through his compassions, the attributes, I want you to present yourself to him. I don't know if you guys got that. Through his compassions and his attributes, he says, I want you to present your whole bodies as a living sacrifice. That doesn't make sense if you were to line that up with a physical temple or tent or tabernacle on the earth, because sacrifices were not a sacrifice until blood was shed and the spirit of that animal, the breath of that animal returned to where it came from, and the corpse that was there, the corpse was the sacrifice. A sacrifice is a dead thing with no life in it. That's what was placed on the altar. Blood was never burned in the fire. Why? Because the life of the flesh is in the blood. The Father says, I'm the author of life. I want that life to return back to me. So everything that has breath of life in it, the breath of that life, of that physical body, that body is going to decay and die. But the breath of that life returns to the Creator. Come on. Powerful, man. This is so powerful. I mean, right. Ladies and gentlemen. I don't mean to call you mad. If I slip up and do that, just throw a sock at Lotto if I do that. So let's kind of look at this. Present your bodies a living sacrifice, set apart, holy, pleasing to Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, which is your reasonable service or your spiritual act of worship, a type of worship, presenting your entirety of who you are to him, your mind, your soul, your intellect, your family, your job, he says, everything connected to your life. He says, give that to me. Give it to me. Verse 2, and be not conformed to this age, to this world system, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, in order to prove by you what is the good and pleasing and perfect will of Yah. What is the perfect will of Yah? That you present your bodies a living sacrifice. He said, let your mind be renewed. Why? So that you'll comprehend and you'll come to the understanding of the word of Yah, that your body belongs to Him. Yes. Your mind belongs to Him. Your spirit belongs to Him. Psalm 24 verse 3. Who shall ascend into the hill or the mountain of Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, or Mount Sion? Mount Sion was the mountain of transfiguration, not Mount Zion. Totally different. Right. Mount Sion is the mountain of light, in which the mountain that Mashiach stood upon, and Eliyahu and Moshe appeared, and the 3 disciples were there like little boys, saying, oh my gosh, let's build some tents here. And he said, you guys don't comprehend. You are the tent that I desire. Let me show you what you'll look like if you present your bodies a living sacrifice. Yeah. They were so excited. Let's say, as a matter of fact, let's just build 3. No. Let the 3 major components of your life become a tent for the habitation of light. Spirit, soul, and body. Yeah. He that has clean hands and a pure heart, who has not lifted up his soul unto vanity. Don't let, we need food, we need water, we need certain clothing and whatnot, we need things to move in this earth. But he's saying, don't let your soul be set up as an aliyah, an ascension to these things of the world. These are temporary. Vanity are things of the world in excess. He says, don't let your soul be lifted up upon the world of vanity as an offering. He says, no. Don't do that. Have a pure heart and clean hands so that you can ascend the mountain of light. The word ascend, it comes from the word Allah, not that pagan's God system of Islam. But it's a Hebrew word Allah, which means to ascend, to go up, to cause to go up, a cause with an effect, a pinnacle, to go up. This is the word that will begin the actual order of sacrifices that we're going to look at, the 5 categories that are given. Olah means to go up, but it means wholly dedicated. W-H-O-L-L-Y. Completely offered up. An Olah offering is the whole enchilada. If I can say that. Yeah. Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh wants all of us, and within this sacrificial system we see through the innocence. We see through innocence the desire of ascending. How? Through sacrifice. Zavach. That's why the altar is called a mizbeach. A mizbeach cannot be a mizbeach unless there's something on it called a zabach, or a zavach, a sacrifice. Something that will bring about a filled house, zabach. Psalm 24 gives us a hint at who the He is. The He is the one with a pure heart. Pure is the word bar in Hebrew, which means pure. In Aramaic, it means son. So when we become the sacrifice, we are transformed into a pure son. I hope you're listening to me. When you become the sacrifice, the living sacrifice, yes, some of you are. How many females and males are in the room? How many females are here? Raise your hand. None. There isn't any. A female is an animal. How many daughters of the kingdom are here? How many sons of the kingdom are here? Male and female are animal terms that are used to bring about a dead sacrifice. Sons and daughters are those with pure hearts, clean hands, who have offered their life. And they said, here I am, and now we become a pure son. The offerings are called karbanot, and when you look at these very things, this very word together, it's made up of 2 words, karaben, which means to call forth the son. So to call forth the ben, the builder, the restorer of all things, is when we become a karbanot, these sacrifices that He desires. Ecclesiastes 3:19, very interesting wording in here. And it can be really dissected if we look at the language of it. But it says this, Ecclesiastes 3:19, for the event of the sons of men is also the event of beasts, Enosh. You have Enosh, you have Ish, and you have Adam. So we're talking about the Enosh here. For the event of the sons of Enosh, of men, is also the event of beasts. One event befalls them, as one dies, so dies the other. When the Enosh, the fallen man, dies, becomes a living sacrifice, so does the animal. Are you listening? When the man falls from his fallen state and becomes a living sacrifice, so does the animal nature of that fallen man that got him there in the first place. I'm not scaring you guys. There's not an altar. Ask Moni and Reuben, there is no altar in the back. So we're not going back there, right, Moni? There's no altar back there. We're just, the Word is the altar, so there's no fire. We're not going to grab you guys and demonstrate anything. Man has no advantage over beast, for all is futile. Fallen man has no advantage over the animal nature because he has become the very beast that he was supposed to control. But we do have an advantage over this animal nature, and that is found when we draw near to the altar. Listen. Drawing near to Yohevavhe is drawing near to the altar. Drawing near to the altar is drawing near to His name. And when we draw near to His name, we draw near to His love, which is not an emotional love. It's a sacrificial love, a selfless love. Ahava. Ahava means to pour into one, so that the other one can become like the one doing the pouring. So we draw near to the altar, we draw near to His name. When we draw near to His name, we draw near to His ahava, to the potential to become after the image and likeness of His Son.
Yeah.
And that's what we strive for each and every day, right?
Yes.
We were called to be a chosen generation. Note the word chosen down.
Yeah.
A kingdom of priests. And I'm not going to beat a dead horse. We know what these things are. A set-apart nation, a peculiar people.
Yeah.
Which means an unpenetratable people. Peculiar means that nothing of the world has come into your life to where you would resemble the characteristics of the world. Unpenetratable. Set apart, kadosh. We need to comprehend what the offerings accomplished and what they didn't accomplish. We need to know this. This is what this book is. The book of Shemot was about the building of the Mishkan, the fire falling, right? And filling that. And now the sacrificial system comes to touch up the areas of this fallen state, or this Mishkan that is being revealed. The offering up, we see the offerings in Torah are known as the limited covering. Say limited covering. Did you guys know that? All the offerings, all the sacrifices in the Torah were limited coverings. Not one of them was ever an atonement.
Right.
And boy, did I get backlash from some individuals that are Pharisaical, Jewish, if I can say that, really rabbinical. They're like, no, the atonement is everywhere, and that's to speak against Yom Kippur. I'm not speaking against Yom Kippur, and I'm not speaking against atonement. It's just these animals never did atone for any soul. They temporarily covered. The Mashiach is our atonement.
Yeah.
He is the one who brings the distant son and the distant daughter, and He makes them one, and He brings them close to the Father. Because the Scripture says no man can see Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh face to face and live. Why? We have to become a living sacrifice, and through the Son we'll see the Father. No, you don't. Yes, you will, because the Mashiach says, if you see me, you have seen the Father.
Yeah.
If you have seen me, you have seen the Father. And if you haven't drawn close to the Son, then you'll never comprehend who the Father is or what He looks like.
That's right. Uh-huh.
My understanding is that that's because it's limited, because they only covered the acts of
all the actions.
Lawlessness. They did not cover the root of lawlessness.
Right.
It's the nature.
Right. The Mashiach can only do that.
Mashiach.
Yes. Only He can do that. The offering up of Yeshua is a universal offering. Think about that. For the remission of sin in this world, on this earth, and the world to come. He is our atonement. All of the sacrifices in the Torah are limited coverings, while the atonement is only found in the Mashiach, as I had mentioned. Wayikra is what we're talking about. And we're going to get into this. I'm going to give a sort of an outline. And we're going to look at some things. in the Torah portion, but I want to focus on something that I have here. On the Adam. On Adam. It is going to be so powerful. This is going to be literally life-changing. I know it is. It was for me. Adam. When you break down Adam, what we have here is the word for blood and strength. So what we have is the strength of the blood. There is a power in the blood. And the blood is what was demanded to make what? A temporary covering, actually an atonement for the soul. So the blood becomes a covering for the soul of man, not for the spirit of man. The spirit of man hovers above the blood covering of the soul. I hope you guys are following along. The blood is a covering for the soul of man. Why? Because the soul would be where the animalistic natures react and not even respond, just react. So the blood would always represent in chesed, mercy, the animalistic nature of man when he acts out. That's why it's a covering for the soul, not for the spirit. The spirit's given and is ready to receive and transmit the set-apart things of the Almighty. The spirit, the ruach, the breath becomes the bridge from this world, if I can use that, to the next world. So let's look at some things in here. This is very interesting stuff. This is fresh in my spirit this week. Many are called, say kara. Look at it, it's the root for Wayikra. Animal sacrificial system is the called. Many are called. Many were called to come through an animal sacrificial system that was officiated by the Levites and the sons of Aaron. So if you want to be the called, and you want to stay there, then you can claim to be a Levite all you want, or a son of Aaron if you want. Ooh. And few are chosen. 1 Peter chapter 2 verse 9, the royal priesthood of Mashiach, which is royal, kingly, sovereign, which is never attached to Aaron's sons, is this chosen race or new creation in the Mashiach. Many are called, few are chosen. The many that are called is a sacrificial system. The few that are chosen are those who receive the work of the Mashiach and walk under and operate under the umbrella of the Melech Tzaddik order things in true power, not fair. You cannot be a Pharisee under the umbrella of a Melchizedek order priesthood. You cannot. You cannot be robotic. You've got to be alive. To be Pharisaical is to be a walking corpse. To be a robot, there's no life there. We have got to come under the umbrella of the Mashiach as his Melech Tzaddik, disciples, Talmudim, and servants of his kingdom. Proof of this is the gold plate that was placed on the forehead. No disrespect, I know I'm going to get backlash for this. The gold plate was placed on the forehead of the headless priesthood. No disrespect to what they were called to do. But it was a headless priesthood during the time of Aaron. And the crown of Mashiach, who is king, is placed upon the head. Aaron's priesthood had a garment with no seam in it, but an opening for the head, which prophetically teaches us of a higher order who would come to fill the gap as the head of the body. No earthly priestly garments, but a body covered in the Ruach HaKodesh in power, according to Acts 1:8, whose head is the Melech Tzaddik, Yahuwah, or Yahweh, or Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, HaMashiach, Yahushua, in that order. Only the head of Israel would accomplish the surety demand for his people. Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh is our Kohen HaGadol.
Hallelujah.
He is our Kohen HaGadol. Aaron's operation was ordained and permitted by the Almighty because of what had transpired. But Aaron was not the head of Israel.
Right.
He was the head of his family chosen. Right. So the priesthood had a gold plate across the forehead as a reminder that don't get too high-minded. You're not the king of Israel. Right. This priesthood will operate as a body for the people,
but would be headless, meaning this, without the anointed one, the Redeemer of Israel. It only pointed to him.
Right.
That's why I use that term like that. That's why I use that term. We have 5 chapters, and each one of them dealing with the 5 categories of offerings, which are called karbanot. Say karbanot.
Karbanot.
We have the olah offering, which means a whole burnt offering. We have the mincha, which is known as the meal, and in some translations it says meat offering. That doesn't mean meat like carne asada or anything like that. It's a meal offering of fine flour. Between the mincha and the shalamim, or the shlamim offering, the peace offering, is what's called the covenant of salt, the brit malach, or melach, excuse me. And then you have the shalamim peace offering. Then you have the chatat sin offering. And then you have the asham, guilt offering. The guilt offering was for something that was not done intentionally. It was a sin, but you didn't mean to do that. You went and you accidentally dropped a cup in someone's house and you broke it. That would be like an asham. It was not meant to happen. It was an accident. So there's different categories. So look at this. Wayikra can also be recognized as the holiness or the set apart code. The kadosh sod. Many times in the Brit Hadashah we hear the term, be ye holy, for I am holy. You guys have read that many times. Be ye set apart, for I am set apart. In the Hebrew Roots Bible, the English word holy is seen 666 times. Wow, that's the devil, right? No. Somewhere, kind of just take a breath. It has nothing to do with the devil. Yeah. In the King James Version, the English word holy is seen 611 times. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. But the point of all of this is only telling us that we need to be set apart. We can do all kinds of stuff with numbers. But the point of this is that it is seen a whole lot of times in Scripture. And the majority of the times of be ye set apart, be ye kadosh, for I am kadosh, be ye holy, for I am holy. It's about what goes in the body and what doesn't go in the body. It's about what you eat and what you're not supposed to eat. It's about your sexual connections, how they should be and how they should not be. That is being set apart. The most intimate things we do is sexual things, conversations, and what we eat. Yeah, you can have a tie with someone just through conversation. Like, no, you can't. It can become a soul tie. No, it can't. Sure, it can. Look at the Garden of Eden. Everything began with a conversation, a forbidden. I should reword that. A forbidden conversation can become a soul tie. So here's the basic outline of our Torah portion, which deals with every one of those offerings that I just mentioned. The olah, the mincha, the shalamim, or shlamim, the chatat, the asham, all of these. Every single one of these. 5 major categories of sacrifices that are given, offerings that are given, which each one of them, when you read in the Torah portion, the actual scripture itself, it's always dealing with the nefesh. Say behema. Nefesh behema is that a behema, we're going to look at the 3 different types of animals. The animals, the flocks, and the herds. They're different, totally different. You know, you guys are going to see something today.
Yeah.
How many people ever go window shopping? You know, we were doing, when it would get hot, we'd go to the mall and we'd walk around and just look through, through the stores because the air conditioning. Window shopping, just looking through the window. But you say you go window shopping, if there's something that you want or need, do you bust the window and just walk in? The door's right here, you just bust the window and you go in there and you just say, I'm going to buy this thing right now. Well, you're going to first pay for that window. That's what you came here for, and it cost you that window. No. You look through the window and there's something in there that you need, so you have to find the door in order to enter into this place to receive what it is that you need. Would you guys agree with that? Yeah. It's like this. Reuben and Moni's house, they have more windows than doors. Like any other place. There's more windows than doors. That's amazing. Imagine having more doors than windows. Then something's kind of weird, huh? Your windows are your doors and your doors are your windows. That'd be really weird. You have to come in through... No. There's a reason for these types of things. We look through the window with the anticipation of coming through the door. Well, I'm going to give you guys some stuff. This is so awesome. The Father is awesome. He's been showing us from the beginning that when man fell, man created a window that he would constantly look through clearly, but never have access to what he once did on the other side of that window. What was once a door became a window. But there's hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just want to build up to this. It's going to get really beautiful. It's going to end with the love of Yah seen in this book. We're going to look at some things. Every Hebrew letter is a number. Every word has a set-apart connection with these numbers, and we are to keep them within their respectful bounds. The value of nefesh behema is 482, which happens to give us a few words. One of them is a few phrases, te'avado, which means you shall serve. Lebanot, to build. Besukot, in Sukkot. So we have a phrase in its numerical connection with nefesh behema, just a little tidbit for you guys, which gives us a phrase, when we offer up the animal nature, the behema, when we elevate the lowest part of the soul, the behema, we partake of the service of building a set-apart habitation. And this prepares us for the great feast in Sukkot.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but it encourages me. Amen. Where is this word first mentioned? Nefesh, Genesis chapter 2, verse 7. You can look at it yourself if you need to. Which says this, and Yod-Heh-Vav Elohim formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a speaking soul. You know what's amazing? When you look at the details of Genesis, and we're going to read this, Adam is given so many commands to do. And we think he failed in everything. Adam was given commands to name all the animals from the earth, all the birds of the air, but he was never given the command to name any of the animals in the oceans.
Say that again.
You got to get the tape. Adam was commanded to name all the animals on dry land. Probably, I'm glad you asked me to say it again so that I can rephrase it hopefully a little better. Adam was commanded to name all the birds that fly in the air. Anything that touched the earth, eretz. You got to read it in Hebrew.
Right.
Adam had dominion over. Anything in the heavens that flew, Adam had dominion. He named them. Not one little goldfish in the ocean he named that we know of. It doesn't say it. The earth, we have an earth connection. To elevate this aspect of the soul is to elevate this earth to the place of dust, which would be connected to the neshama. Adam had a great responsibility. Exodus, we see this again. Nefesh in Exodus, many places. 23 verse 12. 6 days you shall do your work, and on the seventh day you shall rest, that your ox and your donkey may rest. I don't want to offend nobody. And rest, and the son of your handmaid, and the tranger. Anybody know a tranger? There's a bunch of them out there. Watch out for them trangers. They're related to strangers. May be refreshed. So look at this. May be refreshed. I always find a way out so I don't mess up. Vai nefesh. May be refreshed is nefesh, the same thing. May be refreshed is the same as nefesh, the same thing. And they both begin, the Vav Yod begin, the name of this week's Torah portion, and the soul, which is attached to these things. I'll skip this and just move on, because I want to get into some good stuff.
If we are really going to be free, we have to break out and rule over our animal nature. We have beat this dead horse over and over, but you know what? How many in here still battle with that animal nature? Everybody in here. There's a phrase that is used within even rabbinic circles, as I have here. I want you guys to say it. Azu ben chorin.
Azu ben chorin.
Which means this, it's a question, who is a free soul? Who's a free soul? It's a question. Andrew? Who?
None.
None? Anybody else?
Like that quote, are you my brother's keeper or something like that? Yeah.
Okay, so we got 2 responses. Anybody else? Who is a free soul? Bernie?
Yahushua.
Yahushua? Anybody else?
Who's tamed in the flesh.
One who's tamed the flesh. The one who prevails over his passions, who prevails over his animal nature. This is the battle in life, harnessing the animal nature. And you guys have seen this many times. Who is a tzaddik? Many Ashkenazi rabbis, all of them use this to teach the kindergartners. They teach kindergartners through pictures about harnessing their animal nature. And they ask a question, who is a righteous one? And they show the little ones who a righteous one is through the word tzaddik. The word kuf at the end of tzaddik is the actual Hebrew word for a monkey or of the eye of a needle. Tzad in Hebrew, the first 2 letters of tzaddik, is the Hebrew word that means to set a trap or to ambush an animal. So a tzaddik is one who traps or harnesses his animal nature. That's a righteous one. He controls the animal instinct in himself or herself. He doesn't let his nature rule over him. That's the animal nature, which is a tzaddik. He's the one who takes control. So we have to fight what is natural and overcome this very thing. And it's natural to let things rise up. Listen, it's natural to let things rise up, whether it be bread or the daily emotions in our lives. It's unnatural to keep it down, but that is all part of the growing process spiritually. It's natural when the heat turns up for something to rise up. Listen, when the heat is turned up, it is natural to get frustrated. It is supernatural to stay cool. That is where your spirit grows, where the heat is turned up on anything in your life. And you can stay cool. I'm still working on those things. So if I am, I know you guys are. Look at that, prideful. Are you kidding me? All of us together, even you watching. When the heat turns up, we need to learn to suppress that animal. And if we can suppress that animal, listen, that's the actions of a tzaddik. That energy that you use to suppress it is what will strengthen you and mature you in your spirit. To prepare you for a greater battle that we don't see. Though when the heat is turned up, it's only to prepare you for the battle. When the heat is turned up, it's just like making a sword. The blacksmith turns that fire up. And when the heat is turned up, it's only to form the sword the way it's supposed to form to become unbreakable. So the heat, when it's turned up, is to form you into that battle warfare instrument to prepare you for the battle, not destroy you. So everything that God has gone on in your life up to this point was only to prepare you as a sword in His kingdom. You see, the disciples naturally were talking about something that literally made sense. Asking the Mashiach, hey, should we take a sword? You see, they were limited. One sword means, should I operate in my fleshly strength? Should I just take that with me? The Mashiach says, no, take 2. Take your fleshly strength and your spiritual sword so you can be in balance when the battle rises. Don't just go with your fleshly strength, because the enemy will whip your boop, 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 boop. Gotta bleep that stuff out. He will whip your donkey, King James Version. It is only to prepare us for the battle. So we have closed the book of Shemot, which is called and known as the book of Gedulah. Say Gedulah, or excuse me, Ge'ulah. Gedulah is something else, which means redemption. Shemot ended with the completion of the Mishkan and the Shekinah, that is to fill the tent. Now that the tent of meeting is filled with the Shekinah, the presence, what is the purpose of this very dwelling place? Why is this given? And there's so many reasons why that it is given, because of what had transpired. And we can learn we can learn so much from this, but it's given so that Israel will be able to be satisfied and say, hey, we got a tabernacle, we did it. Here we are, this tent made of animal skins that stink sometimes. See, the flesh gets pretty stinky sometimes. Did you hear what I said? The flesh gets pretty stinky sometimes. And it's used as a cover. And he said, I don't want you to get used to that, because that's not what I intended. I'm showing you everything in the Mishkan. I want to live inside of you. Remember Shakanti? He wanted to dwell inside of us. Right. The purpose of the tabernacle is to teach us how to truly have bitachon. Say bitachon. Bitachon. Trust. To truly have emunah. Say emunah. Emunah. Belief, or some might say faith. Faith. James, Yaakov, the brother of Yahushua, said this in his writings. Draw near to Elohim and he will draw near to you. Karav, karbanot, the sacrificial system, the korban, is the process to teach us how to come close. How to come close from where? From the inside. Look at the same word. Kerev, which means your intestinal fortitude. Your inward parts, the interior area of the body. In other words, he says, where do you first come draw close with me? On the outside, walking like robots? No. Sit down somewhere and say, you know what, Father? Here's my whole life. And draw close to him from in here. Inside of here. I don't know if you guys can see me, but I'm going to go downstairs. You draw close to him from in here. My wife says, don't do that downstairs. Draw near from inside. Kerev. Say Kerev. Kerev. Drawing near from within. In this study, we're going to examine the Torah method for drawing near through this animal sacrificial system. Carbon, or korban, as some might say. To come close. These are sacrifices. Rabbi Samson Raphael Hirsch. I love his commentary, so I'm going to give what he has here. It's pretty interesting. It is most regrettable that we have no word which really reproduces, listen, the idea which lies in the expression korban. The unfortunate use of the term sacrifice implies the giving of something up that is of value to oneself for the benefit of another, or of having to do without something of value, ideas which are not only absent from the nature and idea of a korban, but are diametrically opposed to it. Very powerful statement. Karev, the root of korban, means to approach, to come near, and so to get into a close relationship with somebody. This at once most positively gives the idea of the object and purpose of the process of korban as the attainment of a higher sphere of life. The soul desires that something of himself should come closer to Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh. I just added that one in. That it is what, that is what his korban is, and that is your entire being. In other words, the sacrificial system was not the idea of bringing the best that you had of the animals, is you were offering up the best of what you had because you were trying to give the best of something on the inside your soul that you couldn't do through that. You couldn't do it through it. But through the Mashiach becoming a living sacrifice, now you offer up exactly what he wanted all along. So ultimately, the animal sacrifice offered up are to connect the soul to the truth that it was the animal nature of the man that got the best of him or her. And I want to ask the question, how many of you this week, your animal nature got the best of you? Don't look at your neighbor, stop looking at your neighbor.
Can I tell on myself?
Yeah.
I was a good boy this week. Mine did a little, right? My wife would tell you. It did. You know, sometimes pressure, we're all, you know, as soon as you think you're like up here, where all the gold dust and diamonds rains down on just on you, right? The Father will bring you low real quick and show you that, wait, you're still in that body. All of us are battling through this thing. Doesn't mean that you committed some major sin or something. It could be something small. You know what it is. I don't have to point it out. The individual is to suppress the animal desire of the soul, which is to cool off the intensity, the passion and desire that had gone wacko, crazy, to reduce the energy that supplies the animal, in this case the animal nature. I just wanted to build kind of a little foundation here of what we're going to get into. In this case, the animal nature as seen in the small or the reduced aleph of Wayikra. I'm telling you, this Torah portion ministered to me big time. The deeds of the flesh are also mentioned in the book of Galatians. Everything pertaining to that small aleph, that animalistic nature, has to be reduced. It has to become small. If it doesn't, then it becomes exactly the thing we're not supposed to be. Galatians 5 says this. But if you bite and devour one another, take heed that you be not consumed by one another. This I say then, walk in the Spirit, the Ruach, and you shall not fulfill the lusts of the flesh. For the lust of the flesh, for the flesh lusts against the Spirit, is at war. And the Spirit against the flesh. You see the two swords. And these are contrary the one to the other, so that you cannot do the things that you would. But if you be led by the Ruach, you are not under the law of sacrifice. It's totally different. Now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these. What are the ones that need to be reduced to nothing? Look at what he begins with, because that's what began in the Garden of Eden. Adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lasciviousness. Anybody know what lasciviousness is? It's a radical party type of life. Idolatry is a spiritual form of adultery. Witchcraft, manipulation, all of that kind of stuff. Hatred, variance, emulations, wrath, strife, seditions, heresies, envyings, murders, drunkenness. And murders are hate towards your brothers and sisters also. Reveling and such of the like, of the which I tell you before, as I have also told you in time past, that they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of Elohim. Oh. Let that marinate for a minute.
And lust of the eyes.
All of it, every bit of it needs to be reduced. Matthew 16:24. Then Yahushua said to his taught ones, to who?
His taught ones.
So this is to the taught ones.
Right.
If anyone wishes to come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross, his staff, his stake, and follow me. Take up the execution stake. You're going to need it. Why? Because some of you need bigger sticks than others. Because you have more of that animalistic outburst that needs to be impaled every single day. Luke 14:27, and whoever does not bear his stake and come after me is unable to be my Talmudim, my taught ones. Romans 8:13, for if you live according to the flesh, if you are giving life to your fleshly nature, you are going to die. But if by the Ruach, the Spirit, you put to death, you mortify the deeds of your flesh, you shall live. Praise Yah.
Haman.
Can I get an amen?
Amen.
I just had to do that. I've heard that in a long time. Galatians 5:24. And they that are of the Messiahs have crucified. Those who are of Mashiach have crucified the flesh and the affections of that flesh and its lust. They're crucified. So when something's crucified, you have no business walking over there with your spiritual little hammer and trying to take out the nail, saying, no, I'll put you back in it later. Leave it crucified.
Right.
Leave it there. That's a death stake. To take anything off of that cross or that stake or that staff or that tree that was supposed to be impaled there is to partake of death.
Leviticus 1:1, going into this book now. Here we go.
All right.
And Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh called to Moses and spoke to him out of the tent of the congregation, saying, speak to the sons of Israel and say to them, if anyone of you brings an offering to Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh from the livestock of the herd or from the flock, you shall bring near your offering. If his offering is out of the herd, a male without blemish, he shall bring it to the opening of the tent of meeting at his pleasure before the face of Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh. And he shall lay his hands on this. I really wanted to highlight and emphasize this. Can you tell?
Yeah.
He shall lay his hands on. I want all of you to stand up real quick. And just put your hands in front like this. Vesamach yado. Try extending your hands with a lot of pressure, like if you're pushing something. So this Vesamach yado becomes a support of transfer. Samach means this branch, this root. So the hands that would be laid on him, he has pure hands, is needed to do a transfer, becomes the samach. The samach is the Mashiach.
Yeah.
He is the branch. You can sit down, you guys. You may be seated in heavenly places.
Up and away.
To impart the energy that has held you back, the intense contact between the head and the hands, the space between the head and the hands is called beauty and kindness and strength. The beauty of strength and kindness that is transferred to the one who offered up the animal, and the ugliness of sin, separation now rests upon the animal. It's a transfer from ugliness to beauty. Wayikra, you guys notice something up here? I forgot I can do this. You guys see that?
Yeah.
It's so fascinating that this moves like this. No, fascinating with that small olive. It took a long time for me to place that there. I kid you guys not. It's just not an easy little thing. I wanted to really emphasize that. So I have this long thing. To hear the call, you must become small. And only the small olive. I want your spirits to be attentive really quick. Because in the pictograph writings, you don't see that. This is an addition that is brought in to teach us. So I want to pull the teaching out of what this is. Only the small olive can see through the window and come through the door. Yes?
Is there a Nakud that specifically shows that it's a small olive in the Masoretic? Or how
it's handwritten. They have it in here. In the actual scrolls, in the scrolls you'll see it. Even in the Masoretic, they retained it. So in the scrolls, you'll see all the different enlarged backwards. You'll see every little marking. A Nakud is a small type of marking. You'll see that. Yes?
Does this study have to do with Nazarite vow? Because I'm getting, I'm getting like common sense on how to.
No,
I'm having like common sense on how you could.
This won't be talking. We're not talking about the Nazarite vow, but you know what? If you want to do something like that between you and Abba, I would encourage you to go for it.
I'm just having comments like Paul. He wanted to get into people's trust and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something a little different. But the Nazarite vows is something big that's kind of hard to really do right now. But if an individual wants to do that, that's between you and the Father. All right, and there's nothing I would not judge that whatsoever. It's just a personal thing between you and Abba, and I think it's a high priority thing, which is amazing. And you would have to still take control of the animal nature and its lusts. So the entirety of the book of Wayikra, commonly known as Leviticus, because it is dealing with the Levites and the sons of Aharon, with the build-up of Yom Kippur sacrifice, which was a temporary reprieve that spoke year after year, which you see above in the hidden and small olive. A reducing in strength and power. The animal sacrificial system was a reducing of power and effect when it comes to the redemption of man. Just try to follow along with me. This book deals with blood offerings and bloodthirst coming from the altar of sacrifice. That altar was thirsty for blood. The fire was never quenched, and the thirst for blood from here was never satisfied, and the judgment demand from Yahweh's holiness, never appeased by animals, ever.
Yeah.
Some might say you shouldn't use the term thirsty for blood. It was. The language hints towards it. That's why they had to constantly offer blood. It was never satisfied. To not be satisfied is a Hebrew idiom to be thirsty. But the blood of Yahushua that was shed satisfies,
Hallelujah.
appeased, quenched every area we just heard, and has accomplished what was never nor ever would be able to be accomplished by animal sacrifice. Follow along with me, because we're going to get to something very important. Psalm 50 verse 13 says this: will I eat the flesh of bulls, and will I drink the blood of a he-goat? Isaiah 1:11, what good to me are your many sacrifices, says Yod He Vav He. Remember, when the prophets came, they came walking in the midst of the temple, the majority of them, except for the ones, in Babylon and whatnot, but walking in an area bringing strong rebuke. I am full with burnt offerings of rams, the fat of fatted cattle, and the blood of bulls, nor do I delight in the blood of lambs and he-goats. Hebrews 10:4. For it is not possible, listen to this, for the blood of bulls and goats to take away the penalty of sins. It is not possible.
That's right.
So if we've experienced the Mashiach, we have no business dropping down to a lower level to just go with the status quo, saying this is part of prophecy to do. Yeah, there is prophecy going to be pushed in many areas. But you who have experienced the Mashiach, don't force feed a prophecy that doesn't belong.
Right.
Hebrews 9:11. Here's the 911 on it. But Messiah, having appeared as a high priest of the coming good things, through the greater and more perfect Mishkan, not made with the hands, that is, not of this creation, nor through the blood of goats and of calves, but through his own blood. Did I emphasize this enough?
Yeah.
He entered once and for all into the Kadosh HaKedoshim. Having done what? Obtained for us an everlasting salvation.
Yeah.
Amen.
For if the blood of bulls and goats and the sprinkling of ashes of a heifer on those having been defiled sanctifies them to the purity of the flesh, by how much more the blood of the Messiah, who through the eternal Spirit offered himself without a blemish to Yod He Vav He, will purify your conscience. Follow me now, because we're going to get into something right now. Purify your conscience from dead works,
Amen.
to serve the living Elohim, and for this reason he became the mediator of the new covenant, or the reestablished covenant, because they broke it at that time. We all broke it, that he might by his death look at this. That he might by his death be redemption. I love this. To them who had transgressed the first covenant, so that they who are called to the eternal inheritance might receive the promise. This is so beautiful and powerful. Purify your conscience from dead works. What does this mean? What is the meaning of having the mind purified from dead works? What kind of works are considered dead? If you read the book of Hebrews, which there's a few Messianic leaders that say we don't need that book, it should have never been in there, because they're the experts of 2,000 years of experience. So they know. They've been around for 2,000 years, so they know. They know. We got to take their word for it, right? No. It's there for a reason.
Yeah.
The book of Hebrews is teaching the two categories, the levels of the manifestation of the Word made flesh, of the Son, in his fleshly form and in his kingly position. And then the main body of the book of Hebrews is talking about the season of Yom Kippur, the sacrificial system, and it's a battle between two different priesthood views.
Right.
Not two battle. Aaron's sons are not going to fight with the Mashiach. No, they were called by the Mashiach.
Right.
They're his sons. They did their job. So what kind of works are considered dead? If you've come to the knowledge of the Mashiach, now this should really apply. Stop thinking about animal blood and sacrifice and hold fast to the work of redemption and eternal salvation given through and by Yahushua HaMashiach. The animals came from a different soil and returned to a different soil. As Adam, we return to a higher place. Follow along. So the dead works are the sacrificial system.
Yeah.
You cannot say, I'm going to do this and this. Why do you think it says there's two reasons? Our righteousness is as filthy rags. One could be the nidah state. Two could be you want to put on garments of a priest in a sacrificial system that no longer have power and that no longer have an authoritative position to officiate anymore. Those are dirty rags now. They're filled with animal blood.
Right.
It says take that off. That's to have animal blood on you through a rested now sacrificial system is to be in a nidah state. Oh, that won't go over well. To say I want to officiate as a son of Aaron and a Levite now. And yes, it's going to be bloody and I'm going to put on my linen garments, bring the goats, bring the lambs, bring the turtle doves. I'm here for you, man. And you're going to be in a nidah state if that's what you want to do. Leave the altars of the animal sacrifice alone. The Mashiach has offered up, the scripture says, his blood once and for all. We ought to give him a... Once and for all. Now, looking at Wayikra, look at this. Embedded in Wayikra, how could you... This is amazing. That's called the pregnant spelling, the full spelling. The full term of Wayikra. When you spell Wayikra out, I highlighted Wayikra in yellow so that you guys can see the name of it's there and each letter spelled out. Vav, Yod, Kuf, Resh, Aleph. Has the same numerical value of Behema Karbanot, animal sacrifices. So embedded in Wayikra is the entire energy of the behema. A behema means an energy of the beast kingdom.
Right.
The behema means the energy of the beast or the animal kingdom. So Wayikra is teaching us a whole lot. The book of Wayikra, the book of calling, is filled with the offerings of the animals. It is the call to be distinct from the world. While the world lives by the laws of the jungle, we will live by the laws of kingdom authority. I don't know if you guys even heard that.
Say it again.
I was waiting for you guys to just believe it. I'm waiting for you to really believe it. Let me say it one more time.
Yeah.
While the world lives by the laws of the jungle, we in the Mashiach are to live by the laws of kingdom authority.
Come on. Yeah.
You guys are awesome. Adam from the beginning placed an anchor for the sake of what would be his separated descendants. Adam called. This is so awesome. Genesis 2:19. And Adam, no, let me slow down. I get excited. Abba, you are so awesome. Your word is awesome. So Adam stepped in to set something up in advance for his sons and daughters. In a sense, Adam set up a remedy for his sons and daughters that would have been a need later in the future without even realizing it completely, I don't think. And out of the ground, Yod He Vav He Elohim formed every beast of the field. The ground is Eretz. The animals of the land were all formed from Eretz. Eretz means an established piece of ground that cannot be formed anymore.
Right.
Eretz. You have 4 different types of land. One of them is not a land that's given in Genesis. You have Eretz, you have Adama, you have Artza, and you have Yabesh. The last one is controversy, and I'm going to bring the controversy right into this Torah portion.
Here we go.
So he formed every beast of the field and every fowl of the air, and he brought them unto Adam. Notice, every beast of the ground and every fowl of the air, and brought them unto Adam to see what he would call them. And whatsoever Adam called them, kara, every living creature, that was the name thereof. He embedded in them the characteristics, Yod-He-Vav-He, formed them from Eretz. And he said, Adam, the Eretz will one day be attached to a land that is going to sacrifice animals. So in advance, the plan of redemption was already there. That's why he is the lamb slain before the foundation of the earth. Eretz. Way in advance. The word kara is the word for called. See? Called in yellow. Adam was given the ability to impart this calling inside of the beasts of the field that would one day bring forth the temporary animals that would be used to express this calling of Yahuwah or Yahweh that is veiled behind the animals themselves. Did you guys hear that? The kara in them would obey when man would need them. I don't know if this is mind-blowing for me. I was trying to express this and I was like, how am I going to do this? I had to block everything out. So Adam imparted into these animals the ability of response. So when the priest would call them during the days of Aaron, they already knew what they had to do without complaining, without bucking, without fighting, without any of that. Why? Because where they were doing the sacrifices was upon the place the animals were first formed from. They were submitting to their foundational habitation. I don't even know if I explained it right. I'm really trying. I'm not that smart. The kara in them would obey when man would need them. It would take the death of an animal in order for Israel to begin the process of aliyah. Aliyah means to go up. To make aliyah to the call, to the kara, Wayikra. This word is first seen in Genesis 1:5. He called the light. In verse 8 of chapter 1. Excuse me. First seen in Genesis 1:5. And in 1:8, he called the firmament, the heavens. In 1:10, he called the dry. Land is italicized. That's not even land. The word here for dry is yabesh, which means ashamed. The call to this is a metaphor of those of the land who are covered in shame. And this is the first time where we see dry land appearing out of the waters. And this land, it's not even a land. It doesn't say land in Hebrew. It just says yabesh. It's the Hebrew word for to be ashamed. So something prophetic is in Genesis 1. And I truly am one who believes that the period of dry land would be the city of Jerusalem, who would become a prostitute on the hills, which is a shame. So it's prophetic. So coming out of the seas, taking upon itself the being under the nations as a prostitute, but being pulled out and the shame being dealt with and transferred by the Adam. Is that too much for you guys?
No.
So all these different areas of called, we see karaz, all in here. Adam called the animals and so on and so forth. Wayikra has the same value as HaKodesh, which means the renewal. The calling is a renewal. 5:17 for Wayikra is equivalent to he creeved, which means he drew close. The calling brings the renewal, and the renewal is birth out of drawing close. The new birth is birth when you come close to the Father. How do you come close to, or where do you come close to the Father at? Through the door. No man comes to the Father but through me, Yahushua said. He is the door. He says, you got to come through the door. Stop looking through the window. The longer you look through the window, it will become a mirror and you'll never see your way through. 1 Corinthians talks about that, looking through a glass darkly, dimly, and I'm going to get to that too. It's just all going to fit together. So there's an anomaly that happens throughout the Hebrew Scriptures, and that is the small and the large letters. This is what begins the first word of this entire book. This anomaly is the small Hebrew letter Aleph in the word Wayikra. And there are many commentaries on this, and Aleph speaks of Elohim, it speaks of strength, it speaks of power, it speaks of the first, and it speaks of the leader, and many other things. If you were to read carefully from this book, not one time is the title Elohim used in connection with the offerings. Elohim is not used in connection with the animal sacrifices. Elohim is stayed. Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh is connected to all the animal sacrifices. Why? When it comes to fallen man, Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh steps in on the scene. That's mercy.
Yeah.
When it comes to judgment, Elohim is there. So Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh tempers the judgment. Why do you think it was Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh manifested in the flesh, not Elohim?
That's right.
Because the mercy, the chesed of Yah would offer, Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh would offer up the flesh as the sacrifice. And we're going to get to that. That's called the love of Elohim.
Hallelujah.
What we have is Yahuwah throughout this book, because now the focus is on chesed extended to the people. Here we have Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, and it's no coincidence. Remember, you guys seen that? I should have put the slide up, and I didn't put it together on this one, but we did it before. Where when you go to the book of Genesis and Shemot, Exodus, I'll just speak it simple. Genesis and Exodus, every 50 letters spells the word Torah. And then in the book of Numbers and Deuteronomy, every 50 letters spells the word Torah in reverse. So they're pointing at the book of Wayikra. And in the book of Wayikra, every 8th letter spells Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh. It's the book about Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh manifesting himself in the flesh. So if we throw the book of Leviticus out, you'll never really find the root source meaning of why Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh had to manifest himself in flesh.
That's right.
So if we teach the Melchizedek order of things, don't kick the book of Wayikra out. It's like kicking the book of Hebrews out. They both are neighbors. They go hand in hand.
Right.
And they both reveal the work of the Mashiach.
Yeah.
This type of calling is that of affection and love. Yahuwah has been calling mankind from his set-apart place since the fall of Adam. He's been calling out to Adam. When you fell the first time, he's been calling out to you ever since, calling out to you, calling out to you, calling out to me, calling you. He does not stop. His voice comes to you at your level of walking. The voice of the Almighty comes walking in the cool of the day. He says, I know you fell from a high order, but I am going to come as Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, as in the cool of the day, as the voice. The voice manifests. So when we make our strength small, it is then that Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh can begin to move in power through our lives. Other than that, he can't. And I've had, as I put up here, I've had a title for this before, this Torah portion. I called it the world of reduction because of the olive. This is all seen with this small, reduced olive. Believe this. This one olive produced this whole thing here, and it ministered to me too. Since the golden calf incident, things have changed dramatically. Israel has now been given a bloody path to walk upon. The relationship has been reduced to a lesser strength, that of the animal. The reducing of olive teaches us that Elohim would now remove his divine and revealed revelation and conceal it within a sacrificial system and tenant meeting, which would point to a future time when Elohim, Yahuwah, would appear to his people as one of us.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
What would lead the people, what would lead the people in would be rivers of bloodshed from bulls, goats, sheep, and turtle doves. This small olive also teaches us that through this imposed sacrificial system, which it was, would reduce the judgment of Elohim and make it small and temporarily place it at bay. When looking at this reduced olive in the Hebrew word Wayikra, we are left with the Hebrew word Vayakar, which means and he called. But not the same as the desire for deep desire, but rather that of harshness. Vayakar is a harsh calling. What did you do? Wayikra is actually a softer calling of drawing you close. It's amazing. Vayakar. The reducing of this olive teaches us many things about the mind of Elohim. This small olive teaches us of a lesser and a greater when it comes to priesthoods as well. The lesser would be that of animal sacrifice, and the greater would be that of the Melchizedek order in Mashiach. The lesser and the greater, the small, the called and the chosen.
Yeah.
The called are the animal sacrificial system realm. The chosen are those in the Messiah, if I can say that. The small olive here lets us know that everything within this book is reduced plan B of Yod-Heh-Vav, as Mr. Dr. Dave Perry has said many times. Many times. So let's look at these three categories of animals that are represented. Three categories. The first one is called the behemoth. It's right out of the chutes. The actual animal instinct, the power behind the animal behavior. This instinct of the animal is not that of a predator or a carnivore, but that of the more domesticated animal. This is the animal nature that submits to man. This instinct is that of a tamed survival, the one of alert. So we must be moved by a greater compassion than that of survival and fear. A domesticated animal that eats the grass is moved by fear. So the behemoth speaks of the fear that man has. How do we know that? When he fell, they hid and they were afraid that the behemoth had took over them. But there's more to that. I'm going to show you guys. There is more to the hiding place of Adam. I should do a little teaching called the hiding place of Adam.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a taste of that right here at the end. The hiding place of Adam is the love touch of the last Adam. I'm going to show you guys. It's so awesome. The next category of the animals is called tzon. Say tzon.
Zon.
He says from the flocks of the herds, and you guys read your Torah portion, they all move in sync. So the first one is a domesticated animal that can be tamed, but when fear rises, it takes off. You can't even control it. When fear happens, it runs and causes damage, and it can hurt. The flocks of the herds, they all move in sync. So the instinct of the herd and flock to move in the direction of those who have gone on before us, to follow the emunah, the faith, the belief of the patriarchs of old, to have the ability to stand out from the rest of the flock, the ability to overcome the ages of idolatry and the weight of pagan and lustful times, not to be influenced by what everyone else is doing, but to be like Moshe or Abraham or even Eliyahu or Samuel. And it's time to stick together as a flock. That's what tzon is those who stick together. They're not moved by fear. Yeah. They're able to, if someone, the Lone Ranger is the behemoth, beast. He's moved or she's moved by fear, but when you're with the flock and you seem fearful, those who have more maturity can help tame that and encourage you. Don't be moved by that fear. Right. We've walked through that area before. Here's just stay standing. It keeps the flock together. But when you got a whole bunch of behemoths out there, it's a behemoth, right? Behemoth. You got a whole bunch of behemoths out there. What the behemoth is with him? Now it's just like,
is it like Jurassic Park?
the net. I hope not. Here's the third one. Bakar, cattle, but probably the actions of it are probably that strong. Yeah. The next one is from the cattle they were to take these from. A related word to this is in regards to the characteristics of the human nature, and I use that exactly like that. The human nature, to be human is to be a monster. And it's also the word for boker. We don't use morning. I don't anymore. I try not to. The morning's a time of death. So when someone says, hey, good morning, you're like, no, life.
Yeah.
What about
say,
boker?
good day, good day. It's a good day. Or to be tech, it would be a tov day. But if you start saying that, people will be like, what? Toes? What's wrong with your toes? As one of the greatest sages said, Rabbi Levi, boker speaks of the first rays of the sun. That aspect of breaking through the darkness of the former night and so on and so forth. So the value of these three categories is equivalent to the Hebrew word, the thumim. Ha-tumim. It is, you had the Urim and the Thummim, the perfections that are behind the breastplate of Yah. So in other words, these three animal categories teach us something about being in the perfection like a stone in the hand of Yah. And also, equivalent to these is the Hebrew phrase, HaKoach B'Yosef Melchizedek, which says this, the power of Melchizedek is in Joseph.
Yeah.
So Joseph's responsibility, he had the multiple garment, right? His responsibility, Joseph / Israel / Ephraim and Manasseh are responsible to reveal the Melech Tzaddik order of things, to stand up and say, you know what? Stop lying to Dad about my garment being soaked and it is really the blood of goats. Stop lying to him and tell him the truth.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
Joseph's supposed to rise up.
That's right.
These offerings were then brought to the door of the Mishkan. The door in Hebrew is called petach. It's actually one of the vowel markings of script of the that the Masoretes put in there. It means an opening, a portal, an engraving. Psalm 119 verse 130 says, the entrance, petach, of thy words gives light. It gives understanding or comprehension unto the simple. The offerings are brought to this entrance in order to engrave the words of light upon the one who they represent. Is that too much? Is everybody awake?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, good. As we mentioned, look at this. I want to go over this. Here we go. I'm going to be closing with this very beautiful revelation the Father has. We've seen this in chapter 1 of Genesis 1, verse 5, 8, 10. This calling, this dry land isn't a land, but it's Eretz had come to, and it was supposed to be Adam to fix it. Adam is called to fix the shame of this world. That dry, I italicized land, this is not land. Look in your Hebrew. If you got a Hebrew text or something, go look. It's not land. It comes from a word, yabesh, which means to be ashamed. Adam gave each animal their own language. Instead of a language they all knew before the battle of the kingdoms below. So think about this. Because Adam fell, each one of these dominions would have to experience a level of redemption also. The animals are formed from Eretz, and Adam was formed from the Adamah. Here we go. You guys ready? Very powerful. His word is truth. His word is amazing. Genesis 2:19, the calling out of these animals. Yod-Heh-Vav Elohim brings all the animals of the earth. Eretz. Note it down and check this out. It's so important that we study these things and not just categorize them as one thing. He brings the animals from the earth, and if you look and trace this word Eretz, it doesn't mean, it could mean world, but world means a system of something, an established system. And I'll just step over the line. Like the Illuminati systems out there, this pagan system, these demonic bloodlines, those are worlds. They're established worlds that are supposed to be dominated and restructured and purified by Adam. I won't even get into the symbolism of those different Illuminati things. They're pictures of all kinds of different animals as well. Adam is supposed to destroy that and redo everything. Adam called each life brought to him, and what he called its life became what it was at the level of the soul. Literally, as seen in Genesis 2:19. Adam encoded the very DNA of each animal. Each animal. The nature of the animals are encoded on the DNA strands as Adam named them. I put wow because I was blown away as I'm studying this. That wow's for me, guys. This calling conceals an actual secret. When kara is spelled in full, we have the same value as the Hebrew word of the Ark of Noah that he built. I wanted to save this because this is what I'm getting to. So when kara is spelled out in full, we have the equivalent to the Hebrew phrase tevat. That's the ark that he built. You can find in Genesis 6:14, where a window is formed for the tevat. Tevat is another word for word. The sacrificial system was like the window for Israel. Then to look into, and for the one it points to on the other side to look at us. But yet the barrier of the window stands between the chaotic outside and the stillness of holiness on the inside. We must look through the book of the law, which is like looking through the dimness and darkness of an unpolished mirror, and try to see what is truly on the other side. Many people are looking at the sacrificial system, and it has become a mirror to them. They think that's what they're supposed to do.
Right.
But it was intended to be a window to look through and not stop there.
That's right.
The sacrificial system only reflected the truth of what they were pointing to. The sacrificial system was a window that pointed to the Messiah, to the Mashiach. The sacrificial system reflected the higher order found in Melech Tzedek. The calling becomes like the Ark of Noah built, which was really the word that calls out to the living man through a temporary sacrificial system. So don't stay at the animal sacrificial level. Move on to what it pointed to the Melchizedek or the Melech Tzedek dominion, which is a finished work, as we have already seen time and time again in Scripture. The whole sacrificial system was like the window in the Ark of Noah. The window speaks of a point of access like a door. Those in need look into the window of the law and can see the remedy for their sinful and chaotic state of mind and state position. I use these terms like this on purpose. The one on the other side looks out through this sacrificial system in hopes that all who come to the window or the door will eventually see the Redeemer himself on the other side. So here we are at one time looking through the mirror, through the Scriptures at this sacrificial system, and on the other side the Messiah is saying, can you see me through all of this? Can you see it's me on the other side, and the door is just right here to my right side? Can you see me, or are you stuck? Is this mirror getting dimmer and dimmer because the heart is darker and darker and more calloused?
Right.
Those who are pushing a sacrificial system return are looking through a window, but it's becoming darker and darker. There is the perfect law of liberty that we're supposed to look through to see where our true freedom comes from, and it doesn't come through a sacrificial system. Noah brought in, remember, all the clean and unclean animals. Clean by sevens, because seven speaks of a completed cycle. Inside Noah's ark was a glimpse of true worship, which is the sacrifice of Yahushua. So no wonder Yohevavhe never desired animals, because these animals could not bear the weight of responsibility. Only the Word, or the Tevat, was capable of bearing. The book of Leviticus is about to show us, or it will show us, we're just beginning the book of Leviticus, it's long, shows us our need of redemption. We're only touching on the first 5 chapters. Leviticus is the window given to us at the time that all had no choice but to look through and hopefully see the Redeemer and lover of Israel on the other side. Today, religious men are trying to fog up a window that has been made clear and transparent for all who come to the call to see the Redeemer himself, called our Melech Tzedek Kohen Hagadol.
Yeah.
Wayikra is a window. We needed that window. And see, in the Ark of Noah, the sages say this, that the outside window was big, and the inside, the outside was big and the inside was small. Why? Because the inside of the ark could not be influenced by the light of the world on the outside, but vice versa. The light inside of the ark would shine out to the world and influence all of the world that was on the outside, not the other way around.
Yeah.
So look at this. Tevat, taking it even further, which is the numerical connection to the full spelling of Wayikra, is actually an acronym itself, which is an acronym for the house of the pattern of repentance. The Ark of Noah became a school of Teshuvah. You can read that in the book of Joshua. You can read a lot of it's very interesting. Where Abraham, he spent time with who? Noah and Eber.
And Shem?
And Shem, all of them. Which in Hebrew it would sound like this: Teshuvah Bait Tavnit, the house of the pattern of repentance. When you read through this book of Leviticus, please know that it is a window formed in the Ark of Israel. The Ark of Israel is the Mishkan. The Mishkan has a window called a sacrificial system. And on the other side of this sacrificial system, or this window, it points to the Redeemer. Yod-He Vav-He, who is Yahushua HaMashiach, who is the Word, which all the animals only pointed to. And I think I showed some clips of animals. You ever see animals that eat of the grass? When the predators kill them, what do the animals do? The last thing they do? They look up before they die. The last thing, watch those geographical things. All the animals, they don't look at the one killing them, they look at the Creator. All of them, they look up right before they take their last breath.
That's wonderful.
Very interesting. Very fascinating. This window is supposed to become a door. John 10:7. Yahushua therefore said to them again, truly I say to you, I am the door of the sheep. On and on and on. I am the door. I am the way, the truth, and the life. And I underlined and bolded all the areas that these scriptures are emphasizing. Romans, that we must come through the Mashiach. We must come through. We must not yet be made, things were not made manifest. The way that led into the Holy of Holies was not even made manifest while the first tabernacle stood. That means the tabernacle stood, the temple stood, and the other temple stood, right? But the way into the true Kadosh HaKedoshim was never known. That is mind-blowing to me, because they built a set-apart place and the most set-apart place, but it says it was never known. Look at it. For through Him we both have access by one Spirit to the Father. Hebrews 9:8. And the set-apart Ruach, Spirit, signifying by this that the way of the Holy of Holies has never yet been made manifest. The first tabernacle still having been standing. That means it was never even known. And it was a symbol for that time during which oblation and sacrifices were offered that could not make perfect the conscience of Him who offered them. Mind-blowing. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah.
I'm blown away. Hebrews 10:22. Let us draw near, look at this language, with a true heart and full assurance of faith, of belief, our hearts having been sprinkled from an evil conscience, and our body having been washed in pure water. Let us hold fast the confession of the hope unyielding, for He who has promised is faithful. And let us consider one another to incitement of love and of good works, not forsaking the assembly together of ourselves, as is the custom of some. There is the custom of many who don't even care about Shabbat. They know whatever. Do not, He's saying, do not. The temple's corrupt. Gather where you gather. Do not forsake the assembly of yourselves together. Set your Sabbath apart. That's the first and most, not the first, but that is one of the most prioritized and priority commands of the Almighty, is come together on Shabbat.
Right.
Do not forsake the assembly of one another, but exhorting, and by so much more as you see the day drawing near. For if we are willfully sinning after receiving the full knowledge of the truth, there remains no more sacrifice concerning sins. Think about this. For if we are willingly sinning after receiving the full knowledge of the truth, there remains no more sacrifice concerning sins. I could really go here right now, and I'm not.
Do it.
No. But He is ready for the fearful judgment and zealous fire being about to consume the adversaries. This is just powerful, more and more and more powerful. Matthew 27:35. And having crucified Him, they divided His garments. Wait a minute, there's something here. Oh, this is it. Down here. I made a connection with that verse. We know that Wayikra is related to calling. It means calling and karbon. They're related words. Korban comes from karal, right, which means to come close. The man who brought his offerings, korban, would sooner or later have to walk away. Here we go. As this offering only stood as a representation of the man who had a need for reconciliation, but never bringing him truly close to the presence. Imagine that. If you lived back then, you brought your animal, you never came close to the presence. Right. An animal's blood represented you. Right. Never came close. In Mashiach, we come close.
Yeah.
We come, He brings us near. So this Hebrew word is actually very interesting.
found in Matthew. You have to use the polyglot to see the connection with Hebrew and do some other, use some other books to find this. Very fascinating. And having crucified him, they divided his garments, casting a lot that might be fulfilled that's spoken by the prophet. They divided, watch this, look at the scripture. They divided my garments to themselves. If you do your homework on this verse, from the prophets, from the Psalms, they divided my garments to themselves, which is speaking to their souls. They cast a lot over my garment. That's a high priest garment. The casting of lots would have been the same word used for korban, which is karav, which means to come close. So the karav is always connected to the one that is to draw close to the garment that represents the Kohen HaGadol, and in this case, our Mashiach. Did that make sense? Hopefully. The casting of lots would have been the same word used here. These Roman guards were mocking the master, but also their mockery, think about this, was unable, look at that verse, was unable to divide and tear apart the true work of Yahushua HaMashiach. They could not tear and part the garment.
Right.
Look at this. His royalty was and has always been unbreakable. The priesthood of Mashiach is unbreakable. You can't part it. You have to cast lots for it. Slash, it has to be kara, call. You have to come to and through the calling to really receive the garment priesthood of our Mashiach. Rome, that once was, had no power to break the work of Mashiach Yahushua. Rome bought counterfeit priests into position, and these Roman guards would have protected the counterfeit. His sacrifice is parted to everyone, but his priesthood is for those who embrace his work and walk in this covenant renewal sustaining power of victory. The scriptures declare that the Mashiach's robe will be dipped in blood. This vesture is the royal priesthood garment that also represents him as the priest of warfare and victory in battle over the enemies of Israel, Revelation 19:13. And having been clothed in a garment which had been dipped in blood, the blood of his enemies, and his name is called the Word of Yod He Vav He. Amen. So here's what I want to focus on as we're going to close, as I said once already, but this is what we're going to look at. Check this out. In Hebrew, if you got a Hebrew text, you can look at it. If not, I'll just read this one portion of this verse. Which in verse 2, it says this: Speak to the children of Israel and say to them, when any one of you brings an offering to Yod He Vav He, you bring your offering of the livestock. Devara b'nai Yisrael v'remarta Elohim Adam ki yachriv. Remember, we used yachriv as one of the related words to karav in the beginning. You guys remember that? Yes. Keriv. It's the same thing. Mikem karban le Yahuwah or la Yod He Vav He min habehema, the animal. Nature at the end, from right to left. I just want to go through that real quick. Reading the first and the second verses, and the interesting section of verse 2 above speaks of Adam. Speak to the children of Israel and say to them, when anyone, that's a bad translation, when Adam among you, hear this, this is like the thrust of the whole book of Leviticus. He said it's prophetic. The Father in every book is speaking prophecy. So in the beginning of the book of Wayikra, it's prophetic of Adam who will come and bring the behema, the energy of the entire fall of man. He will offer it to Yah. So who does he put this on? He puts it on himself. Adam ki yachriv mikem can also mean to be covered. The one who will be covered with the behema will offer it up to Yod He Vav He. Only Adam can do this. And this is the only time you see Adam. He's not in the rest of the book of Leviticus. After, it's all about the priests. The beginning, it's telling us when Adam from among you brings the offering, the animalistic offering to Yod He Vav He. You'll be able to, he will bring the offering of the livestock. Bad translation of the behema. Adam, the last Adam, will be the redeeming offering for all of Israel. Verse 2. That's what that's saying. That's exactly what that's saying. The animal nature as the offering. Our portion, our parshat,
began by telling us that not any Enosh or any earthly priest would bring an offering, but it would have to be Adam, as we read right here, right there in the text. Right there in the text, only one time. Adam is seen in the beginning of the book of Leviticus as the Redeemer. This is the only place we see Adam in Leviticus. Embedded, when it comes to the sacrifices, embedded in Hebrew is the secret within the entire book of Leviticus, which is that there would never be a suitable, pay attention, a suitable son of Aaron, a Kohen, who would be able to offer up the entire animal system nature at one time. Yahushua did that. He offered up the entire animal nature that Adam first partook of in one time. We read in the beginning, he offered up himself once and for all. Everything in one shot. That's why he carried the weight of the world, the sin of the world on his back, right? Was the animal nature of man that was burdening him down. He says, I got that. And he offered the whole thing up upon himself.
Come on.
The entire behemoth that was given birth through the appetites of fallen man. Each priest stood daily offering up animal blood time and time again, and this never satisfied the holiness of the Almighty. The voice, the word would come to fallen man as it did on the ancient road of regret and shame. Did you guys know that? Genesis 3:8. And he heard the voice of Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh Elohim. We've said this, we've shown this many times. Many times. And he heard the voice of Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh Elohim walking up and down the garden at the breeze of the day. How does a voice walk? I didn't know voices had legs. And the man and his wife hid themselves. Get ready. Because our Father loves Israel.
Come on.
He loves his creation. The redemption of the Mashiach is bigger than what we think. He redeems the beacon of light and he ignites the beacon of light again. That's Israel. And it's to show the rest of the universe, the rest of the redemption work of the Mashiach, the Word made flesh. He redeems every single kingdom back to himself. He's showing the first Adam how to do it. Adam and his wife hid themselves. I was in tears with this. This is so heavy. His word is so powerful. This phrase has a telling and a profound revelation. Someone say, hid themselves.
Hid themselves.
Vayishmu et kol Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh Elohim. Mit halech bagan laruach hayom. And here's the word I want you guys to just remember. I'll highlight it later. See this Hebrew word? I ended hayom, the day, right? Vayit chabei ha'adam. Vayit, say it. Vayit chabei. I want you to remember that word right there. That's the phrase of they hid themselves. But it's not they. It's they translate this stuff wrong. And he hid himself. When they fell, the only one that was seen was Adam. Because he covered his wife.
Yeah.
The woman couldn't see. Adam, where are you? The love of Adam covered his wife. To where it provoked even the Creator to say, where are you? I don't know about you guys. When the Mashiach came, he covered his bride and put his back to the penalty. And Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh answered his own question. I see you, Adam.
Yeah.
He asked the question in the beginning, where are you? In Mashiach, he says, I see you.
Aman.
I could probably stop right there. I didn't show you guys the rest. Yeah, I'll just do that. That's some powerful stuff. Ministered to me.
Yeah.
But I'm not done. I want to show you guys this.
Yeah.
I pretty much just said the whole thing, but it is what it is. Adam did, look at this. Adam, when the woman partook of the forbidden fruit, Adam partook of this as well. we have a picture of the return of love and embrace, which is self-sacrifice. I'm not talking about the emotional little stuff. Way beyond that. There is another Hebrew word for love. Look it up yourself. I've never seen it till this week. And I'm sorry, 11th year doing the Torah portions. I have never seen. This is another word for love. But it is a concealed, a covering love. Chaba. Chabab. Like shish kebab, but it's not that. It just sounds like that. That's kind of cool. I still have to add to it. You got it. Look at this. So let me read that again because this is beautiful. So not only is the book of Wayikra the book of sacrifice, but it's a book that shows how Adam comes to offer up the entirety of the animal nature, but it's also the book that reveals what Adam does at the same time. He covers the one he loves to where the only one seen taking the blame is Adam. That's why out of all that it says the woman will be spared through childbearing after the fall. But Adam will take the penalty on his back. That's heavy stuff. We have a picture of this. So look at this. Adam didn't have to do this, but something beyond comprehension here. Adam hid themselves. What was that word again?
Hid.
No?
No, Chabad. Chabad.
You guys are thinking about Oneg already, huh? Vayit Chabeh. Say it again. I got highlighted in gold. This is gold. This is a treasure here. Vayit Chabeh. Hid themselves. It comes from Chabah. It means to make small, to hide, to conceal. Where we get the word secret from also. Adam hid himself in his affection, in a sense now, and love for his bride, knowing the judgment that was to come. Adam covered his bride because of his love for her. He didn't want her to remain uncovered. Adam was her covering. He said, now, remember, now this time she is bone of my bones. Read it yourself. Or essence of my essence. Beyond an emotional love, this was a self-sacrifice. And now Adam and his wife had been both reduced from a higher order to a lower order. Clothed in the humility and shame, this would now set the premises for the coming of the last Adam. And I can almost hear Adam say this. This is just me hearing this. There comes Adam, the perfect one, who will reverse what we have done. Chava. My actions will bring forth our remedy for this sin. This Hebrew word is a covering love that conceals or absorbs sin. The last Adam would come in his concealed form, which is his flesh. This right here, Vayit Chabeh, the Adam, says this. The last Adam comes concealed in a garment of love.
Yeah.
If I'm trying to really express this, and my spirit gets it, but my flesh is so slow. This whole Mishkan and the entire sacrificial system is a demonstration of Adam's love for his bride Israel. Israel, I have come for you, he says. I am the love of the Father clothed in this body of flesh, and you no longer have to hide among the fig leaves and trees of religion. I have cursed the fig tree because it could never bear the fruit of repentance. I have brought you the fruit of the tree of life. I am the tree of life. Come under the covering that I have prepared for you. Yahushua is this Adam that begins the whole book of Wayikra. It would take Adam to present himself, to offer himself up on behalf of all tribes, all 12 tribes of Israel worldwide, no matter looking through this. Look at 1 Corinthians 13:12. For now we see through a mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then I will fully know, even as I am also known. When you research this phrase, look at it, beautiful. A mirror dimly, you will discover that it means reflections of praise. This is why Israel, hello Israel. This is why you should be praising Him every day of your life. Because He covered, I'll just stop here. Because the last Adam covered you.
Yeah.
Wayiqra, he says, hold on a minute. The woman partook of this. So Adam partook of it. Oh, what did he partook of? He says, I'll partake of it because this is woman, this is essence of my essence. I'll be her covering and take the penalty on my back. And was it by His stripes we are healed? Healed of what?
Yeah.
Sin, death, and separation.
Hallelujah.
And I'll stop right there. So the whole book of Wayikra, and we're going to get into the rest of the book, of course, but it begins. Adam is the one who offers up the behemoth. The priests are just a pattern of his work. And in the midst of this, it points back to Genesis with the fall. The remedy is the Redeemer of Israel, who covers us because He loves us. How do we know that? Now we can really comprehend John 3:16. For Elohim Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh so loved the entire land and earth, and whatever you want to call it, all of Israel, that He gave His only begotten Son. The love of Yah in the flesh. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
Abba, we thank you for your Torah, for the work of our Mashiach. We thank you, Abba, that without you we are nothing. Without you we are nothing. Father, without you we're nothing. But you have covered us. You have covered us in the ugliness of our sin. You covered us with your love. And we did not deserve it. 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 But you covered us. You sent your bosom. You sent your word. You sent your love for your creation in the form of man. And you put in that man divine blood that would be shed to cover His bride, Israel. Abba, we are so grateful. Your Torah is liberating. We look through the law of freedom, through the Torah of freedom, that is through the glass, and we walk through the door. The Mashiach with His arm extended to us. Father, we lift our hands before you. We extend our arms, our life to you. We can't even reach high enough. We just want to go where you are. We're tired of this world system trying to beat us up and remind us of our failures and our flaws. Father, we just can't wait to be with you. This is why we are to become praise, and we are to become worship, we are to become prayer, we are to become shalom, we are to become one with the Mashiach. We receive that love right now. Let that song play a little louder. Yes. Chodu le Yahuwah ki tov ki leolam chazdo. We just praise you. Hallelujah. We're here because your word is real. Your word is life. Even in our silence, we are screaming out. Even in our leading, we are bleeding while we are leading and walking. But you created a path of life that restores and washes clean the broken path of hurt, pain, disease, and failure. In you we are victorious and accomplished and complete. For you are Yahuwah Shlemo. You are the one who brings you are He who brings wholeness. Shlema, refuah shlema is for everyone right now. A complete healing in our spirit, our soul, our mind. Worship leaders, lift your hands to Him right now. Let His ruach, His Spirit breathe in you. Let Him walk. He knows where you're at. The voice comes walking in the cool of the day, being led by the Spirit, the ruach. Why? Because wherever Adam is covering his bride, that's where the Spirit comes. That's where the voice comes. We praise you, Abba. We thank you for your word. May we never forget the importance of your Shabbat. The importance of serving you.
Yes.
The importance of becoming a terumah and a maaseh. Our whole life an offering. Our whole life given to you. Father, I pray and ask that you would rain down, only because of your great mercy, chesed. Chesed gadol, your great loving kindness and compassion, because that's who you are. Abba, can you touch those who are weak right now? All of us. Is there anything too hard for you, Creator of all things? Nothing is too hard.
Hallelujah.
Abba, can you just, even if this is a one-time thing, can you do that today? For your sons and daughters, the one that is reaching out, who might be struggling right here, maybe watching, or will be watching. Can you touch them, Abba? You came and touched us one time physically, and that was through Yahushua HaMashiach. You finally touched man in his fallen state without him dropping dead in your presence, because you were clothed in love. Love doesn't kill. Love restores. Love redeems.
Right.
Love has compassion. Love is forgiving. Love is reconciling. Love is self-sacrifice. Your love is empowering. And we receive it right now. Families that were torn apart, relationships, you name, I pray and ask for your restoration right now. Bless you, Abba. Guys, give the Father a big praise. It's part of our love for Him too. We're going to take our offering up right now. If you have it, be a blessing, because it's for you. You're not giving to me, you're not giving to Remnant, you're giving to Abba through Remnant of Truth International. And after that, we want to do something else, so don't go anywhere. If Bernie, you can just walk that around. We're going to do one other thing. We're going to do one other thing. And I think we can come together and do something very powerful. Let's show the Father that we're a united people. We're a flock that's united. We're not a distant behemoth, lone ranger trying to do our own thing. That we're united because He's Echad. We want to be Echad. No matter what storms of life are out there barking and doing this, don't be moved by that. I'm not. They'll come with the swords and cause people to go astray. Don't be moved. I'm not. They accused the Mashiach of many things that were untrue. Who cares what people say about you? Stay standing. Let's be a flock that's sown,
that Son is also related to those things from the north. I hope you're hearing me. The enemy desired to place his seat in the congregation in the north. Zion. Son means north. The congregation of the north is the congregation who is covered by Adam. That's who we are. I love you guys. And I believe
We love you too.
that you guys are strong men and women of God. I really do. I truly do. Don't be moved by people, no matter what. Nothing. Don't be moved. Be strong and test things by the scripture, not by the multitude of voices. Test it by the word. The time is the greatest test.
Yeah.
Thirsty, hungry people are not moved by the winds of change that come from people. Be strong and be steadfast and be encouraged, and just know that we're all here together as a mishpokah.
Hallelujah.
That means when one struggles, we all struggle. When one's suffering, we all suffer. I've had several text messages from people and I didn't respond right away because I sat at my desk weeping for you before a response and praying for you. And we've done this for years. We need to pray for one another, not pray on each other. We need to put a smile on the Father's face saying, you know what, there she is. There is Israel. I see her.
Yeah.
She's not causing stripes on the backs of anyone. The stripes were given to my son. She is free to love her brother and sister and be unified.
Hallelujah.
That's what we need to do.
Yeah.
So it's saying that we have a family in need. Let's show the Father that He owns everything in our life. The Chavez family, they just want to bury their mother right.
Yeah.
And it's an honorable thing. We want to take an offering up to give to the Chavez family whatever we can, and we're all going to do it to be a blessing to help our sister, her body that will one day be resurrected and be buried and have a righteous thing. Lotto wants to honor his mother, and I seen his cry on Facebook, and I was like, shh. Can't leave him. Let's help him honor his mother and his family. So we want to take an offering up to give to the Chavez family to the best of our ability. Whatever you can give, anything, let's do that. And if you're going to write a check, leave the check blank. Just put something on there and give it to the family. They just want to bury her in Shalom. Use this one. Can I use this? Ruben Mori? Father, we thank you for your comfort for the Chavez house. That you're going to bless them. You own our life and everything in it, so we don't lose out on nothing. We're investing into the principles of your kingdom, and we thank you, Abba, for an honor to be able to do a righteous thing. We thank you, Abba. We thank you, we praise you, and we exalt you. Comfort that family, because we've all had loved ones to go at one time. I remember. It's painful, it's sad. But she's not lost. The Chavez family did not lose anybody. When you lose something, you don't know where it's at. So in the hope of Israel, you know where she is.
Amen.
He is her hope. He is her tikvah. And He will give her the proper mikvah. He will give her the tevilah she needs. That's why we dedicated this Torah portion to Estella for the refuah shlema, for her full healing. Praise Yah. Hallelujah. You guys are awesome. Abba, you are awesome. Amen. Shabbat shalom, you guys.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.
our family.
Hallelujah.